skills, value education, analytical skills, and decision-making skills in all students of life. So today, I would like to pass it over to my co-moderator, Michael, who is also going to be presenting to us our first guest speaker.
That's true. That's true, Virginia. And I really like the way you touch in terms of access. Access is really important. Representation is another one that is really, really important. So be represented. And we, as we say that we touched on already on it. We have a diverse. We're living in a diverse world, and we have to approach this diverse world in terms of with the mindset of co-learning, co-learning, and in terms of making sure that we collaborate with each other. And there's lots of ways that we nowadays consume information and digest that information. So this is really, really cool, and I'm really looking forward to this one. So with that said, I'm really, really honored, really privileged to introduce our guest of honor. Our guest of honor is a former national president of Ecuador, an executive president of Fidel Foundation, and an honorary member of the Royal Academy of Doctors of Europe. If you don't know it already yet, her name is Rosalía Arteaga Serrano. Welcome, Rosalía.
Yay! Welcome, Rosalía.
You're mute, Rosalía.
Okay, that's okay.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you very much. To wait for me a little bit. I'm in the center of my country, in the middle of a small city, and it was not easy to get the connectivity, but I'm here and happy to share one of the main issues that I am always working on. It's about education. I started my career being a teacher, a high school teacher, and I maintained myself to be in this field because I'm convinced that the only way that we have to develop our countries, to give opportunities to women or to disadvantaged people is through education. We don't have other way. In my my current occupation, leading an NGO and also leading the UNIR University, that's Internet University. I am the president here in Ecuador of this initiative. We have some goals, and I will be very happy to talk about three of them that are very important for us. One is to work with teachers, because the teachers make the difference. If you don't have good teachers, we cannot get or achieve what you want. You can have very good infrastructure and you can have budget, but if you don't train the teachers, you are not going to get what you want. Then we work since the last 15 years training teachers and organizing an award for them, a contest. It's not only for Ecuadorian teachers, but all Ibero-American teachers, and we get excellent results. The empowerment of teachers, they win also self-esteem because they want to be considered important in the society. And unfortunately, with the bad salaries that they have, with the lack of opportunities, they doesn't feel like they want. And the work of Fidel Foundation had been in training teachers and organizing the awarding them with the scholarships to continue preparing with trips and with monetary and technological support. The other big issue that we are working is a STEM project. This STEM project is directed to very young students, 10 years old or until 12 years old, improving the quality of the teachers, but also directly working on the schools, giving them the opportunity to be more creative and more friendly with science. In our countries, most of our countries, mathematics, for example, is a big issue because people doesn't like mathematics or doesn't want to study physics or biology because they feel that it's not good for them because they are not well prepared. But we demonstrate that it's possible. We even create an app that can be used to be more familiar with the science, but we add something because STEM projects has to be with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but we add an E, that is ethics, because we are working in values at the same time, because if you are a scientist but you don't have ethics, it could happen anything with the planet, and it's a risk for the planet. But you are an ethical person, and you are improving the quality of life, living very close to science, to technology, engineering, and mathematics. We can build a better world, fighting against climate change or working for peace efforts, for example. Another thing that we are also very proud, and maybe I will spend a little bit more time talking about this field, is a school for leaders. This was created 8 years ago, and in the past we had also some democracy forums and campus for democracy that we were preparing kids to be responsible in terms of participating in elections, voting in a responsible way, and working very hard in this field. We went at that time around the country preparing students from 14 to 18 years, because in Ecuador the kids can vote on elections when they are 16. Well, we talk about responsibility in terms of the voters, and when we study what we are doing, we decided to go forward and to create this School for Leaders, the Center for the Future, we call it. And it is with a slogan, with better Ecuadorians, we will have a better Ecuador. And we choose every year a number of young leaders from 18 to 35, and we are preparing them in different fields, like being entrepreneurs, to have a conscious about ethical values, national reality, international situation in politics. I think that the 60 or maybe the 70% of the students that are attending the center, they have a vocational about politics. They want to be mayors, they want to be councilmen or councilwoman. The school is for men and women, but we have to make a big effort to have equal, because most of the girls are better when they apply for the scholarships, because it's always the scholarships. We have the support of some business, some companies, and also from some international cooperation to make it possible. But when we have to have the same number of students, men and women, we have some difficult times, because the women normally have better profiles. It is such interesting that what's happening. And also we put a lot of effort in prepare them to be ethical people, and to work having in front the benefit for the community, not only the personal benefit. We had at this time 8 promotions that have graduated from our school, and we are very proud, because some of them, they are start to be in a political career. One is a vice minister. Some others win scholarships in different universities around the world, in Korea or in UK or in different parts of the world. Some of them are now, because we are in an electoral process in Ecuador, and they are running for big council persons or members of the parliament. And really, we are happy with this evolution of them. We give them media training and other, and we prepare in other areas, and we are very proud about what we are getting. For that School for Leaders, we have agreements with several institutions, and we get really a good results when we see about the 50 students that are graduated each year. They create also a network, and they are working together, preparing themselves to be part of political parties or be around like council persons in at the parliament or on different cities or at the central governments, and they are preparing themselves, and they are come back to us with some initiatives that we are supporting, because when they graduate, they have to do a personal project and a community project, and usually we have astonishing ideas how to do with climate issues, or how to prepare women, or how to prepare people to save the water and things like that, communitarian works. And they are developing a number of projects, and we are trying to follow them and to support them in many issues. Well, those are the three ideas that I want to share with you: the training the teachers, the possibility to create these STEM projects, e-STEM we call them. We have an agreement with the New York Academy of Science, and they give us some tools. And the other is the School for Leaders. We also are working a lot with migrants, providing education to them, especially Venezuelan migrants. We have 500,000 of Venezuelans living here in Ecuador. We are teaching them how to be entrepreneurs, but also giving some legal training to live here in Ecuador with a different legislation that in his country. And we are working also in some other initiatives and environmental ones of training people at the parliament or at the local governments. And well, that's what we are doing. And I'm happy to share with you some ideas, totally convinced about the benefits of education in all the fields that we are working on. Thank you very much for hearing me. I don't know if it's possibility for some questions, but I am available for that.
Thank you so much. Wow, you're doing a lot, and I'm really happy to hear that it's being put into action. Many times, countries create these processes, but they never put it into action. So I'm very, very excited to hear that there's action happening, that you're seeing results with these new leaders participating in different areas. I am really excited about the leader school, because once they finish school and they become responsible. I would like to know, did you say that mostly it's in the political sphere, or these leaders are also going into entrepreneurship and other areas?
Yeah, I say that probably 60 or 70 of them, they are with a political vocation. But there's another number of people that they are working like in private sector, being social entrepreneurs, or in business also, because we don't need only good politicians, but we need good entrepreneurs, good business persons. And yeah, I'm happy to know that some of them are in those fields, and they are all the time. And it's interesting because we have a system that we have. It's a hybrid process. It's sometimes so a part is online, but another is in person, and they share with us some weekends. We provide the hospitality, the food, and they share between them. Then create strong links between them. And when then they finish the school after 6 months, they sign an agreement not being aggressive with the others if they are in politics. And they have a lot of a number of, I think like 10 or 12 items that they get a compromise, and we are following it, especially when they are dedicated to politics. And we have really extraordinary young people, and that's the reason that I'm optimistic about the future, because when I talk with them and when I feel what they are doing, and when they are helping one to other. We had a couple of cases that people that cannot walk, or people, we have a number of indigenous people, very, very strong indigenous group. And we have really, really good experiences in all this, with all these experiences.
Wonderful. Michael.
No, that's great. It was a gem of a session for now. Lots of things to take. As Virginia was saying, in terms of like the school of for leaders, and we're touching on those fundamental parts: science, technology, engineering, maths. And I like the way you put the ethics. Because I think The way you
Yes.
put it there is like everything not needs to be done in a correct manner, and sometimes defining ethics is something that is there's a fine line between it, you know. So I like the way you're preparing the future with
Yes.
this the initiative, and as well the way we do it here in G100 is that hand to hand in terms of like she for him and he for she. So that's hand to hand that goes well. But like something really really fast, Rosalie, if you don't mind, what if you can share with our audience, how would you define ethics in maybe a very very short sentence?
Well, yes, ethics is in the bottom of everything that we are doing, and we have to show it with examples, of course, but also with talks. We choose a number of people that they are the teachers of the school, and also we have others that give conferences, lectures, and they have to go through our like. Trying to see what happens in their lives to know if they are good for giving lectures for our students, and also we introduce some coaches. We have a group of coaches working with them, and different strategies. For example, when they arrive, they have to put on a box the box of dreams. What is his or her dream? They have to put on it, and it's secret. We don't see it. But when they finish, they open the box of dreams, and they know if they are on the right way to fulfill the dreams that they have. Or we have a passport. When we have the school, the rooms are with no keys. They are open. Never we lose any single item, and being people from different parts of the country and things like that, they are provoking in them like a kind of confidence. They can
Yes.
be confident and they can share values with the others. And when one has a problem, the others are trying to help them. We have peoples with for example, one of them was a survivor of cancer. She lost a leg, but she is so vibrant. She's a dancer and a model, and is receiving the help and the inputs from the others. And we have fantastic examples. We also produce some documents with them. One year, like 3 years ago, they produced a document that we give it to the president of the republic and the congress woman and congressmen. In that document, they have decided what country they want to live in terms of education, health, labor, energy, and others, every field. And the second year, 2 years ago, they work on the SDGs. And this year they work on bicentennial, because we had the bicentennial of our independence, how it's going on, and they are very serious on their works. They read a lot. They are compulsed to be more and more proactive in the society.
Wow, that's amazing. And I just want to congratulate you and the country and, and what you're really doing. I think that here, well, I'm from Puerto Rico and we admire so much your country because of the creative industries and how they've been able to really direct in that area. But you said something that's really, really important. And that is that women are part of your school of leaders, but mostly they're the majority if you would allow them to be. And I think that really speaks volumes of the fact that you're really injecting confidence in these women to really step up and be responsible. So, for their future, but also for the future of their country. So I think it's a great model to follow. Very, very, I mean, I
Thank you.
congratulate you all.
Most definitely,
Thank
most
you.
definitely.
Thank you very much. I am from Ecuador.
That's right. See,
Ecuador.
see.
Yes, yes.
Yes, you
Thank you very
graduated
much.
from Cuenca. I have a cousin that also
Yeah,
graduated
yeah.
from.
I'm from Cuenca. Yes, yes. It is true. Thank you very
Yes,
much. And I
same
wish all
here.
the best during this very important event.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rosalia.
Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, Mar, and everybody. Thank you.
So we have Mar with us. Mar.
Yes, and we have Violeta. Violeta, welcome.
Okay. So are we going to?
I think this is the time to introduce Violeta. Rosalia have to go. We introduce Violeta and just speak 2 minutes, and we pass the floor to Violeta.
Okay, so great. So I think that we've been a Violeta fan, right, for the longest time. So Violeta, I want you to know that we admire you very much and all you do. She's the G100 Eco-Civilization for us in G100, but she is also an academic, an author, a systems architect, and an entrepreneur. I think that you do it all, and you do it all so well, and you're definitely an inspiration and an example for all of us. So please, thank you for saying yes.
Couldn't have said it better, Virginia. I love because I'm a curator as well. And I love the way that you're creating the eco-civilization. I'm actually following you there. And as Virginia said, we're all a fan, and we're just looking forward to, learn more and observe more. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much. And guys, that nobody can do anything by her or himself. So I'm incredibly inspired by all these connections. And I'm so grateful to you that you as Eco-Civilization Global Chairs for really the partnership, that you are really walking the path and walking the talk and bringing us together and giving us a chance that we actually connect and really create an ecosystem that has a huge potential for the future. So really grateful for that.
It's us we are grateful, Violeta, that you are here. You are giving us the empowerment that we need. We have two teachers today, that is Violeta Bulk and Rosalia Artiaga, two presidents of former deputy minister for Slovenia and former president of Ecuador, that are teachers that are giving us the clues for a new era, and new values, new standards for a new system on education. They are with wisdom, with charismatic political leaders, both, that give their time, their generosity, their solidarity to walk in a new roadmap, a new agenda when we need to do things differently. And this is about education and working. We have education for future generations, and we have education for us, for adults, that is in the present. Education for new generations means to reform the educational system and to be adapted to what means multiple crisis world. And for that, we need to boost creativity. We need to create critical thinking, creating each child, creating of them a true engines that boost ideas and solutions for a promising future. And for us, education for adults, that's what I say. There are two teachers, because we are learning. We are here to re-educate ourselves, to open this new path, to learn how to do it better, and to get to balance through, and to get into sustainability through networking. That is the agent that will make change, to be together. And that's what we are learning, because we don't know how to do it. That's the truth. And we are learning every day. That's why today we are going to pass the floor to Violeta. Before, if you allow me, Violeta, just to say G100 Networking is there, is here, and the network, not only the networking is the philosophy, but also the global chairs. We have different, and I'm sure Michael and Virginia, very brief, we could introduce Shera Shetty, Karen Hughes, Lucia De Luca, Bridget Dan, and I think I haven't missed anyone that are here.
No.
Especially Menashki Abral, that is 2:00 in the morning in Singapore. So thank you for being here. So moderators, please, if you are ready, Violeta.
Okay. Let's. I think we will take the opportunity now to, because as Maris was saying, like for Menashe Brown, it's very, very early, So let me just take an opportunity to present her. So she's like a G100 Alliances for alumni. She's the founder of One Woman Foundation, and and we're really thrilled to have her here on stage. So I know, I think maybe we will. Before, I think I'm jumping a little bit the horses here. So let me before we go to Menashe, because I was thinking that it's too early for her, but like we actually want our guest speaker to have a quick word. So Violetta Bock, we're ready to introduce you. So I'm just going to give the floor to you. Sorry about that, guys.
Thank you very much again. And really, it's a great pleasure to share some of my thoughts on incredibly important topic, education and standards and values for a new era, especially because, as Amar already mentioned, education is becoming a life learning process, a long life learning process. And we are all our life somehow invited to be part of this, never to give up, never to step away from acquiring new skills, acquiring new knowledge, and acquiring new competences. And I hope through this couple of minutes of my presentation, I will make a strong argument to invite you into this process with even higher capacity, because we do live in a very different time period, very challenging one. And you would say, yeah, I bet that they said that the same 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Probably it was true, but the environment, the scope, I dare to speculate that was by far smaller than it is today. So the dynamic and the diversity of changes that we are facing today are new to everyone. And that's why we have to submit ourselves to the constant learning, and especially to be very good at observing the emergence that is happening in front of our eyes. And let me just mention a couple of challenges. Environmental degradation, it's happening all the time. And we are yet to find a good solutions in order to stop it. But how are we going to find it if we don't educate ourselves, if we don't learn new skills, if we don't learn new options, and then engage? Because engaging only with the old paradigm, it will constantly push us back in the same orbit. The same linear economic growth. You see how, even though that we are all feeling in our hearts and souls that that is not a good solution for the future, we are trapped in this linear process, and every single one of us can see how hard it is to step out. And the most powerful tool in order to be able to step away from a stream that we all know we no longer belong to is education, is knowledge, is capacity to understand and capacity to act. And if we take a look what we're doing right now, creating a really big challenge, because we are more and more trying to close ourselves in a closed systems, in a closed circle groups, where we think that that is the only truth. But you see, we're all learning that the truth is very manipulative, and it's very misleading, because it has many faces. So in order to learn how to create a truthful environment around ourselves, to be able to expand our minds, to be able to really see beyond what is known today, that we can never do by ourselves. We do have to be challenged by others. We have to learn from others and sit together and encourage each other to go beyond what is known today in order to address the challenges that we're faced with. And if we just take a look at the close mega trends, they're very much related to the key challenges that we're facing today. I would say first is that we are, for the first time, really experiencing the VUCA world. VUCA means volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, all at the same time on a global scale, because our community became a global village. And that's why, of course, because it's new, we don't have any tools yet. And you see that whatever we do with the old tools, we are creating even bigger trouble. We are creating even bigger mess. Climate change, our response to climate change. You see how long it took us to acknowledge that climate change is a natural behavior of planet Earth. And that with our behavior, we speed up those processes to the point that we can no longer really respond and adjust and really develop a resilience. Or maybe we can, yes, if we think together, if we exchange knowledge, if we train each other, if we really, really develop new points of view and new tools, which we can only do with fresh knowledge. The same applies to digitalization. It is great. It helps in so many ways. But you see how many troubles it's causing, because we are compromising with the old mindset, the technological solutions. With them, we are compromising our freedom. We are compromising our liberty. And we don't need to do that if we sit together and we put the right apprehensive goals that we share in front of us and say, okay, how are we going to find a technical solution by not compromising that? For that, you need wisdom, you need knowledge, you need to be really confident that unknown can be addressed only in the collective exchange and in collective engagement. The same applies to poverty. How many billions more of euros, dollars, or whichever currency we're going to dedicate to poverty in order to realize that we are creating even more poverty with it, because we don't have enough stamina or enough awareness to bring fresh knowledge, create fresh tools, fresh models, fresh frameworks within which we will address the poverty. Only then our investments in this area will really deliver a new value. The same applies to any other aspect. You see that we're still using war as a tool. I can't believe it in the 21st century, because of the lack of knowledge, the lack of acknowledgement of our capacities, and a lack of acknowledgement of our new shared goals towards which we should use our capacities. So with that, I invite you into a little journey, hopefully challenging you to the point that we were together with even more commitment, sit at the table, exchange our knowledge, exchange our experiences, exchange our wisdoms, and then search for the new answers that will address, unfortunately, old problems. And there are a couple of elements that within the eco-civilization we already recognized as the transitional elements around which the new solutions should be created. From ego to eco, from breakdowns to breakthrough, from competition to collaboration, from hierarchy to network-based, to really capture as broad as possible capacity to create, and of course the awareness, knowledge, and additional skills. From profit to shared value, so that we really empower as many people as possible in order to be able to sit at the table and be creative. From crematism to care, so instead of just piling up the wealth, to really care and use this wealth to create even better world. For that, we need a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom. So in this kind of emerging new world, we are becoming more and more aware that the big question that all education also needs to reply to is, what do we need to do to human well? How to human well? Have you ever asked yourself this question? Listen to your heart, listen to your soul, what it will respond, or what will it tell you? And let me try to share some of the thoughts that hopefully will lead to answers, but only when we bring all our thoughts together, we will have a perfect solution. I would dare to invite you to reconsider the education instead from this static, top-down, industrial-based mentality education to a purpose-driven education. Purpose as a higher calling that lead us to not only rationally, but also emotionally, spiritually, and respond, and energy-wise respond to the challenges that we're facing. And there are lots of very proactive groups that are intensively working on this. And it's great that even today we're bringing some bits and pieces together in order to start creating a huge global patchwork, which will at the end be a fruitful field that something new might emerge out of those information and data and experiences. And my colleagues that work around the Global Educational Alliance and Futures, they say that in the 20th century, market economies were capital-centered. That is true. All the industrial societies have that very strong characteristic, and modern economies became very human-centric, and we forgot a little bit about the nature and about everything that is around us, and we see what kind of troubles we caused. But they do acknowledge that in order to survive and thrive in the 21st century, we should create systems that are life-centered and relational, which immediately puts us in the middle of the ecosystem. And we humans become one of the co-creators, acknowledging many other beings and many other entities that are around us as absolutely necessary for us to find, to work with them to find a systemic solutions. I would also like to invite you to reconsider the structures within which we exist and engage and work. Why is that important for education? What has to do with education? Because in educational systems right now, in the processes, we hardly ever challenge and bring knowledge and awareness to the structures within which we engage. So here it is my invitation that we dare to challenge everyone in the process of training and education, that they feel free to reinvent ourselves and then jointly move towards a sustainable future. And just imagine for a second that instead of having these all functional vertical organizational structures that all countries and most of the organizations are still organized around, imagine that we refocus our capacity to learn, train, educate, and then deliver based on that common solutions, that we focus that on these 5 key life-providing entities: beings, society, land, consciousness, being wisdom and cross-civilizational knowledge, and relationships that bring all this together. And relationship being a dynamic structures like education, industry, that are constantly readjusting to accommodate beings, land, society, and creating ancient future wisdoms. I can imagine that world, and I hope we will be able to create it and live it in our lifetime. But we need to start dreaming. And in order to dream well, you also need knowledge. You also need wisdoms. You need experiences. You need skills. And I got really inspired by my old lasting colleague, Professor Dr. Kurt Carlson, who used to be for many, many years and the president of Stanford Research Institute, today one of the most prominent lecturers on learning and innovation around the world. And he says people who try to learn purely through observation and theory miss a great deal of and forget even more. And he created these 5 steps of active learning principles that I see now them as one of very important tools that I also use in order to create an environment where knowledge gets enriched and accumulated and then deployed into a meaningful value creation actions. He says these 5 principles are iteration with real-time feedback. He says if you learn without the feedback, you forget and you have no understanding of where and how to use it. So that is very important when Rosalia mentioned that they're creating and activating this ecosystem for education and that they're paying a special attention to trainers. This is one of the skills that trainers need, to give feedback, high quality feedback to students, and to learn, to teach students that they have a capacity to respond to each other and give feedbacks to each other as well in the real time when the thought appears. Then concise mental models. We need these mental models. And at the same time, we need to learn how to break them and how to expand them, how to change them. And that's where these dynamic relationships come into place that I showed you before in the previous eco-civilization model. And then multiple learning styles. When you have a multiple learning styles that you know how to learn in different ways, that's where your full activation comes into a place. And it's needless to say that teamwork brings the best out of us and shows us really where our weak points are and where our strengths are. And we can then already capitalize the strengths, but address the weak points. And that is such a valuable element of our learning and part of the education system. And of course, it's nothing wrong with comparison, but don't push people to compete, but push people to collaborate and bring the best out of them in order to deliver really good solutions. Another quality, so before we talked about the capacity to learn, and now it's capacity to understand. And here I'm constantly inspired by my dear friend Ramit Chimi from India, who runs these endless conversations with young people where the line stays open and as long as people are willing to talk. So one of his famous sessions that was done in collaboration with Eco-Civilization was open for 12 hours. And he says there has to be a special dedication to ability to understand. Expand your mind, make no excuses, focus on what is right and relevant. And he's doing such a marvelous job with young people. So ability to learn, ability to understand. And last but not least, ability to engage and lead. And my dear colleague Sonia Klopčić is here dedicating her life to develop diversified techniques and models and tools for conscious leadership, to awaken the best in us in order to lead well. More and more, it is about the individual personality and her ability to connect and augment the team while using tools to create value. And here again, it's capacity to learn and capacity then to engage and lead. So all that is leading us towards relationship-based future. I do believe that the next key element for value creation will not be digitalization and new technology anymore. They will be relationships. And we are yet to learn really how to nurture them, how to really engage on an equal basis with respect, as Rosalia mentioned before, trust and confidence, and to create these quality relationships that then deliver the value. And I really have a dream that the future civilization will be empowered by the relationship-based value creation. But are we getting young people and all of us who are part of the long-lasting learning process, are we getting ready for this? Are we embracing this? Or we just feel constantly trapped because what the reality is today is causing more and more inner stress in people, because it is against the natural behavior of us humans, who are developing along with the planet Earth, but cannot stay all the time trapped in the industrial mindset. You see where that got us. So it is also our duty to dare to reshape what and the way we learn for the future. And that's where, at the end, I would really like to stress that we have more than just brain and capacity to think. We are a really dynamic, incredible beings, humans, completely not developed. And there is huge potential in a really balanced development of intellectual, physical, spiritual, emotional, social, and energy dimensions of us. And all that we are yet to capture in our educational systems, currently being completely submitted to industrial needs, but not to the needs of humans and the planet Earth and the nature itself. So yes, we are still yet to learn how to human well, but as long as we have this intention and we are together working towards that, we will deliver and we will make it. And we will be co-creating the future that we intention inside, deeply inside ourselves, already feel that is our next shared destination. And in that, intuition will play an incredible role. We completely really put a cap on something that is a natural capacity that we have. So besides really our instincts that save us in a very difficult situations, besides knowledge that we acquire and use with a rational mind, intuition is the third dimension, gut feeling, that is incredibly important, because he's stepping into the collective and he's stepping into the collective understanding and cross-civilizational wisdom that is accumulated in the frequencies around us. We know from the quantum physics, we know from the behavior of frequencies, that every single wave that is merged in another wave, the trace of the history is always present in the higher level or in a broader level of the frequency. And that is so inspiring, which means everything that ever happened, we can tap into and we can learn from and use it for the challenge, to respond to the challenges of today. Can you hear the drums calling?
Bravo. Wow. I don't know. Are we there? Can you hear me? Here we are.
We're back.
Wow. I just loved everything you said. And I work with entrepreneurs and I work with women every day. And the fact that you said three things that I have always thought that are the treasure of the human species, and that is instinct, knowledge, and intuition. And the fact that you said it so brilliantly, we need to go back to who we really are. You know, we've been so afraid of technology and artificial intelligence and all these things that we forgot that we have the power, you know, and education really needs to continue to tap into that, what makes us human. So I love when you say, are we human well? Are we humaning well? You know, I think it's a great question for all of us to really consider. But the fact that you're talking about instinct, you know, that protection, that intuition that tells you not here but there, and the knowledge that comes with experience and perspectives. I think that wow, it blew my mind. I think I say it all the time to my coachees, and it was really great to have the great Violeta Bullock say it. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
No, was another a lot of gems being shared. Thank you for that. Lot of gems, a lot of knowledge. And we are always tapping on knowledge. And Violeta says it quite well. And we we are, as a society, we've evolved a lot, we've learned a lot, but what have we done with that knowledge? So I love that when you put that across. What have we done with that knowledge? And you actually pointed the example of the war. So it looks like we know a lot, but it looks like we're going back. So that's a bit is putting things in context, and I love the way as well that we spoke, and even in my own work of life with startups and the scale ups, we all talk about all this co-learning in terms of the mindset, in terms of making sure that you have the right mindset, making sure that you, as you were saying, Violeta, skilling and upskilling as well. So it's important that we keep doing that. And I think what hits home for me was when you were talking about that relationship. Everything we need to do is based on that relationship. And what I don't know if I can remember what to say. You said relationship based model or creation, and that's something that touched in my mind. Said, look, this is what we are all working towards to, and then having it put this eloquently. I think we have been blessed in terms of having this session together, and thank you for that as well.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Violeta. I can hear the drums calling after your speech, only after your speech, and that's the role of the leaders, and that's why we need to change the leadership, the way, the shape of the leadership and the leaders. That's why I'm so honored and so grateful that you shine with your light this session. I would love. I am interfering on the moderation work. I apologize, so sorry, but please, the Cuba chairs, the rest of the Torah chairs, if they need to make a comment in relation to Violeta, this is the time for doing it. Please, go ahead.
Exactly.
Unmute yourself, please. Sorry, moderators.
No, that's a great call. Because we're
Lucia, Karen.
Yes, I had unmute myself, and if you can hear me well, so thank you very much, Honorable Violeta, for the presentation. It's really, the drums are there, and we can hear them very well. And I think you mentioned something that I wanted also to mention, so it's maybe I can do it now, which is the power of networking, which is hardly apply when we speak about education, because I think in my mind, on the minds of many people, the educator, the teacher is somebody who works there in isolation. And actually, when I was asked, Bamar asked me, okay, what are the values, when talking about education, in particular, because I deal with at G100 with pay parity. And I think that there are some values that also should be instilled in the teaching system, which is the values of networking. So connect more educators, and of course this connection takes time, and that's why it's important that the educators get the right reward and the pay. I know that when we talk about these high principles, we always feel a little bit tainted if we mention money, right? But I think that even more for teachers, or those who are teaching others, the values that also you shared, I think it's important they are well paid for that. And of course, we do know, unfortunately, there are big disparities around the countries, around different regions of the world. Honorable Arteaga mentioned this, but also between men and women. And we know that women teachers get, 30% less at least when they are lucky about this. But I think that there are countries around the world who have very nice way of empowering teachers to ask for what they do deserve. And I think that if we would give more rewards to teachers, also economic rewards, and we shouldn't be ashamed about talking about money, they would be able, most of them, to share maybe some of the values that you mentioned. And one of the biggest values, like the networking amongst themselves, because sometimes I think they have a big work to be done, and I feel that some of them are a little bit lonely in their huge network. So I think I'll buy with I'm with you in the biggest power of networking also applied to the sector of education.
Let me just give you a quick comment, if I may, on that one. because the reason, first of all, the value created needs to be shared within the ecosystem, but the whole society is vertically oriented. So people lose the awareness of all the elements that brought something to a new stage. Let's call it success. Yeah. So that's why only the one that is at the end of some sort of linear approach in our heads, not in our lives, takes it all, which is really the lack of structural change that we somehow need to get enough energy to move towards, that we acknowledge through the organizational structure that there are lots of elements and parts and stakeholders who create success and then share the value equally. And that's why, in most of the cases, we forget about teachers, who are actually the most important first stage impulse for all of us to be able to even think and create. Yeah, because they have an incredible influence or young people, and even later on us adults. But because we are vertically oriented, so this is one of the closed circles. They are pushed aside. So only at the end, when there is a great finale, we see only those that create the last stage. So we have to dare to reinvent ourselves, our structures within which we organize ourselves, and then acknowledge that the value is created within the ecosystem, not in one particular stakeholder's network.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Violetta. Thank you so much for your inspiring speech.
Hey, Karen.
Hi. I just want to address, I'm very much a fan of the 21st century skills, I don't know what your opinion about is, but I think the curriculum at colleges and universities, secondary school should aid in fostering skills like of problem solving, reasoning, collaborating, creativity, interpretation, and analysis to help the students in all situations he or she to encounters. So I've seen it in the Netherlands, where it is taken more or less seriously, more and more. But I have seen it in Asia or in India, for example, where this is not initiated, not a lot yet, which I think will help students a lot to get a real impact and a good position on the labor market in the modern world.
Super. But Karen, may I ask you back one question? Do you think we have now a capacity to put this big question always at the top? Is this making us to human better? Is this making us to be a better human beings? Because sometimes I think we forget about this fundamental question and we try to serve the technology instead of life.
No, but I think to survive in the world, to get a job, you need to have the modern 21st century skills. Otherwise, the modern jobs requires these skills more and more.
Yeah. Fully agree.
Yeah.
Great.
So thank you very much. I know there is many more speakers waiting, so I will be eagerly listening to all of you as well. Thanks for the opportunity, and I think we all are realizing we have work to do together.
We certainly do. Thank you so much, Violetta. So now we're going to go with, and we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Minachki, for being here with us and waiting. I know it's almost probably like 3:00 in the morning, but I think the conversation was so wonderful. And I really appreciate that you are here with us today. Thank you so much. So we're not going to take any more of your time. You are one of our global chairs, and we really honor the fact that you have taken the time to stay with us here.
Thank you so much. It's truly an honor for me to be present today among such dignified, such learned, learned people, leaders of the world. And it's truly an inspiration for me. Violetta painted such a beautiful picture of this world. I just wanted to step in. I wanted a window to open like the way it happens in movies. I wanted this window to open so that I could just step inside that world, take that plunge. It was so beautiful. Thank you so much, Violeta, for this beautiful presentation by you. It has had so much of impact on me. I've taken a few pictures to understand the concepts even later on, and go in the deep of these certain words of your presentation. Thank you so much. So, good evening, Honorable Guest of Honor, Ms. Rosalia Artiga, and a special guest, Violeta Bulb, respected speakers, hosts, and moderators, and the august audience that is participating in the conference online today. My name is Minakshi Dabral, and I represent the alliances and the alumni wing of 300. I extend my sincere thanks, gratitude to dear soul Sister Mar, Itorani Global Chair of Business Networking, for giving me this opportunity to come here and speak today and to express my views on education standards and value for a new era, the changing role of education towards a new political leadership, and aiming to reach a sustainable world by educating people on sensitivity, emotions, kindness, and compassion. I think that's the hour of the need. We need to connect with a human touch. We have been surrounded with so much technology right now that somewhere we have lost our soul, so I think that now, in the coming times, we need to be the new education is has to be set on sustainability, on getting back to the simple ways of life that we were once living in, connected with nature, connected with the natural resources. um, I would like to express my views today more from the perspective of the larger vision and mission of G100, which is and we're working on gender parity. And so my talk will be surrounding around, how women have to be brought into the entire ecosystem in a larger manner, in a larger way. And uh, so yeah, so that's so I have a few facts and figures. This is going to be a little more on the on the serious note, wherein I have brought in certain facts and figures, and would like to talk about those. So United Nations has come up with this report that out of 195 countries right now, 28 countries are the ones where 30 women serve as head of state. And at this rate, gender inequality in the highest positions of power will not be reached for another 130 years. 13 countries have women head of state and 15 have women head of government. 21% of government ministers are women. And at this rate of progress, gender parity in national legislative bodies will not be achieved before 2063. These are all curated by United Nations, and a very fresh report coming straight away in the month of September. And moving forward, I would like to present certain figures for the CEOs of the corporate world. In terms of executive roles, 22% of all chief operating officers are women. Out of the 100%, 22% are women. Of all C-suite leaders, only 3% are women of color, compared to 20% white women, 62% white men, and 13% men of color. So this is a report by McKinsey, and this has come out in the year of 2021. And again, I mean, like, holds pretty valid till now. So balanced political participation and power sharing between women and men in decision making is internationally agreed and a target set by Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. Most countries in the world have not achieved gender balance until now and are really lagging behind, especially some part of Southeast Asian countries. Because I come from India, so I can talk about my country, and I'm living in Singapore now. Have also got the opportunity to travel to a few parts of the world like Spain, and I've lived in Thailand. I've lived in France. Different perspectives across while I was traveling, working with different NGOs like United Women Singapore. So this is my second time that I've come to Singapore, and I've stayed here before also. And I was working in Thailand with the NGO called Bambi Bangkok. So the question is that why are women still lagging behind when the education is the same, when women and men are going to the same universities, same MBA colleges, same engineering colleges, same medical colleges? Somehow women are still lagging behind. why is education, which is equal to all, still not being able to cater to this lingering challenge? That's a very critical question that we need to answer. Women lack representation in leadership roles, despite being twice as likely to spend more time on educating themselves. They speak out more about discrimination. A Groupon survey focusing on women owned small businesses found out that 54% experienced double standards. They also said that they find it challenging to balance work and family. Women who juggle between duties are more likely to experience burnout and downshift in their careers, and hence they end up giving up their careers. So this is where education has to bring about a change, because it's only changes in system of education that we can create a new mindset in the young minds of children or at the university level, by making education more inclusive, more impacting. The female versus male CEOs, the statistics show that the business world enforces double standards, further widening the gender gap. Because women are more often the caregivers, they are less likely to get promoted. Moreover, women earn less than men, and that leads to a gap in the salaries at the same positions. Still, I would say that the female CEOs are on the rise worldwide. Whether we talk about India or you talk about Singapore, Singapore has 30%, more than 30% representation of women CEOs, and I say that Singapore is one of the truly empowered countries when it comes to women rights. Um, so, female CEOs are on the rise worldwide, showing that women are determined and resilient, two characteristics that fit for a great leader. Uh, there are a few things that I would like to mention about, since I'm in Singapore. So Singapore is running a program called the Reskilling Program for the local residents of Singapore. It's a very amazing program wherein people, women, or people who have kind of are leaving behind in the career, or women who have taken a break because they were they were caregiving, they were taking care of their children, or any other reasons. The reskilling program trains you and upskills you, and not necessarily in your domain of study, but also reskilling you in a different domain. For example, I am maybe a teacher, but I want to know some digital skills, because digital skills is something that is very relevant today. So the government is upskilling the people, and giving the opportunity to take a to get back to your career, or to kind of make a shift from your current job profile. And they're also giving you job opportunities after you finish this course. So I think this is a very, very amazing initiative by the government of Singapore, which is called the Reskilling Singapore, and it is present everywhere. So there are camps which are running in malls, easily accessible. There's something about Singapore is that is easily, everything is easily accessible. You just have to work. Digitalization is so amazing in Singapore that it just takes seconds to register, to enroll, to do whatever. So that's one thing that I really appreciate the government of taking this initiative forward. I'm also the mentor for National University of Singapore, which is NUS, and this is again a very interesting program that is initiated at the university level by the alumni of NUS, which is called the Women in Business, NUS Women in Business. What they are doing is that they are picking up, lifting industry experts from not-for-profit, from fintech, from STEM, from engineering, and from finance, from various backgrounds, and they are picking up. Students are open to choose their mentor. So for next 6 months, these mentors and the students, they work together on a certain there are certain guidelines. And so for example, I'm working with two students as a mentor, and guiding them towards their journey towards a not for profit. So I think this is again a very good initiative, kinds of give a lot of exposure, real time exposure to students, to connect with senior leaders from the industry who give them real experiences, real opportunities to connect with the right people at the right time, so that they can form a good foundation for the future career. This is another initiative that I think is very, very creative and interesting in university in Singapore. Um, Apart from this, there were recommendations, that were based by UNESCO, and global universities participated in this recommendations, um, and this was done in May this year in 2022. And there were certain things that were figured out that are, that are lagging behind in universities, especially in this side of the region, for women to be more, so that for women to take the lead. So some of them are, very prominent is childcare facilities in universities. There are a lot of women who are getting back to universities after having a child. They are in their 30s, or and these days especially, women are actually going back to college in 30s also and 40s also. So I mean, they need that kind of infrastructure, that they can be free of mind. And this is the childcare just cannot be any childcare. You cannot be compromising with the quality, because as a mother, you want the best for your child. The childcare needs to have certain standards. So just not for the namesake, but on a serious note, have I mean, in Europe, I think it's very casual to have these kind of child cares, but in Southeast Asia, especially if I talk about India or even Singapore, I don't see this extensively in the universities. There are child cares, but not in the extensively in the universities. So I think that this is one move that is important to create a world which is more inclusive, and makes a woman more confident to pursue her dreams and goals. Uh, then ensuring that there is a regular communication between the departments, centers, and units that undertake gender equality initiatives. So here I would like to mention that there is this NGO. It's called United Women Singapore. It's set up in 1999, and it's doing extensive work for women in STEM, giving scholarships to students from universities, I would not say universities, but undergraduate students, and students from the senior school, like 11th and 12th grades. So they are picking up students who are interested in STEM, and giving them mentors, giving them a platform wherein they could enhance their skills. And one thing that came out of the discussions that I had with the president of United Women Singapore, her name is Georgette Tan, is that women are lacking the confidence. Somewhere, they think that, no, we can't do it, and sometimes they also feel that maybe we are learning too much. Maybe it does not, it's not going to help us in the future. I mean, like, how will we, I mean, do we have the economic support? Do we have the family support to take up STEM? So here, United Women Singapore is supporting these women, not financially to cover the courses, that's for free, but to help them with certain amount of money and direction, to so that they don't have to worry about books, they don't have to worry about coming and going, the transportation. So these are the areas where United Women Singapore is collaborating with a lot of colleges and schools in Singapore, and helping women students to take up STEM in the future as a career option. Uh, so again, since I take care of the other alliances and alumni, the wing, so I'm more kind of corresponding with the universities on a larger scale. So I believe that involving the entire university community, bringing together students, staff, academics of all genders, to identify examples of gender bias and devise solutions is a way forward to bring about inclusion of women more extensively, and co-creating an ecosystem which is more helpful for their growth. Embedded activities into teaching programs, research projects, and staff workloads to ensure that gender equality is recognized and valued. Like, there is something, people just kind of say, fine, there are so many D&I events taking place in today's time, but they're more about, you come to the forum, you speak, you present your views, and you just go back. There is no action. There is more about, the speaker networking, So I believe that from this platform, we need to step down and come to the real ground, which actually needs a lot of work to be done on diversity and inclusion. Universities also need to ensure to track success rates and outcomes for women compared with men. It is critical to periodically review these data, which and use them as base to make evidences on how the women are performing and to use them for them in presenting a larger picture for women upgradation. We also need to go beyond national policies and laws and ensure that policies and services are widely communicated. So many times women are not even aware of their rights. Just the other day, was having a word with a member of parliament in Singapore. Her name is Carrie Tan, and she mentioned to me that, Meenakshi, there is this lady who's being offered the CEO position in such a big organization, and she's coaching her. She's actually a coach, but she is reluctant to take up this position because she fears that she is the only woman in the entire male dominant boardroom, that she might be suppressed, she will be bullied, nobody will want to hear her, and the challenge of becoming a CEO is giving her goosebumps, whether she can kind of lead as a CEO. Women somewhere are still very, very scared of a certain scared within themselves, whether of proving themselves. They are always looking for validation, that whether am I doing justice to my position. They think too much. Somewhere I feel that women should think a little less and just go for it, and just nail their performance. And I'm just coming to an end now very soon. Details of policies and services should ideally be made publicly available so that the general public can hold the institution accountable for commitments. With this, and also, there was a very interesting thing that was mentioned in one of the, when the speeches before this, and the access of digital technology to everyone. I think that is very, very critical, that everybody has access to digital technology in today's time, because we are advancing so fast digitally that to catch up with that digital space is becoming a challenge. There are so many mediums that I myself find it difficult to kind of kind of move my way forward in those digitally. So I think we really need to have digital programs that help women, which are free of cost, to enhance, not even women, I would say for men also, for both the genders, to have more accessibility digitally and more knowledge. Very well said by Violeta. The quality of teachers, not only in schools but in universities, a better ecosystem of networking for the professors. I think that's empowering the teachers. I mean, university teachers are already empowered, I would say, but to get the right teachers is something which is very critical. Get more women involved in teaching at the higher level in universities. So with this,
Can we have just one last line, because we have a
yes,
list of
just
other
last line
guests.
with this.
Yeah, sure.
I would request the world leaders. We have Viveta with us. We also have so many global chairs with us. I would request all of you to take substantial stand and just not speak but enact with a 10x speed to bring about changes in the education system, which enables the coming generations to be more compassionate, empathetic, share a greater sense of responsibility for both the genders, for any gender. In Thailand, I learned about 5 genders. So for any gender, thus moving towards, in Hindi, in Sanskrit, we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means one earth, one family, and one future, which is also, the India's theme for G20 presidency. G100 is going to present 100 recommendations to G20. With this, I thank all of you for your kind hearing. I hope I had made some impact. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think that everything that you brought up is super, super important, because the truth is that we continue to talk about women lagging behind. It has to be all of us. And the fact that you are the global chair for alliances and alumni, you really tap into the power of networks. So you are one of those people that can really help us continue to talk about this in different spaces. And I think the more we talk about this, and like you said, and we get integrated with education, we will continue to see improvement. But there's so much work to be done. So thank you so much for bringing these facts and figures to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Virginia.
Thank you. This is a conversation for another forum, and I think that we have so much information, right?
Exactly. It was one of those that I think there's always time for to it's some topics that you can it'll go on and on and on. And thank you very much for sharing that with us. And we learned a lot. And as well, thank you very much for sharing those use cases. I think it was excellent as well. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yes. So now we know it's also very late in India. So Shreya Shetty, thank you so much for waiting and being with us. She is the founder of Elite, which is Enhanced Learning Investment for Training Excellence. She's an HR consultant, corporate trainer, certified NLP. Shreya, I'm going to let you continue the talk because I know that it's almost midnight or probably midnight in your country. Thank you so much.
Take care. You're on mute.
Well, thank you so much, Virginia, for that generous introduction. And thank you so much again to everyone for such a valuable sharing. I think it was incredible to learn from all the insights shared by Violeta, Roselia, and of course, Minakshi now. I think the presentation really triggers a lot of questions, which each one of us here, coming from various diverse backgrounds and doing incredible things back in our countries. I think it's the time what personally for me, coming from the space of human capital development or talking about HR or talent nurturing practices, I strongly believe that education as a tool empowers, especially when we talk about SDG in wake of whether it is SDG 4, 5, or, we talk about gender equality. I think we all will concur with the point that, the common thread which binds us all, which beautifully was even mentioned in Violeta's presentation, was the human centric approach. And that's where I have strongly practiced this along with the team of people that have been really working towards making education an empowerment tool when it comes to gender equality or evolving young minds, shaping up or mentoring them, be it spiritual empowerment, financial empowerment, or talking in terms of mental empowerment. So today's I think the topic, I would again like to thank Mar for bringing us all together, the very essence of G100 networking events. And I'm glad that I'm representing G100 India. Again, a huge, thanks for all the efforts Mar has been putting us to lead with, incredible love and leadership that she shows with her action-oriented initiatives. To bring us all together and take the best practices for collaborative approach. So today's my presentation. I think I will not take much of time, but yes, definitely sharing the best practices or the impact that we could all create collectively as one nation. Like Minakshi also mentioned that the G20 summit presidency, where G100 leaders coming from diverse backgrounds and sectors would be representing. So I think it's very important for all of us, with the incredible work, legacy that we all share and bring to the table when it comes to G100. We really have a strong sense of responsibility. And with this, I would just like to share my screen. Give me a moment, please. I am just lost. Probably it's the sleep over, which is just getting me. Yeah, so I'll just try to share my screen, sharing the presentation. Mar, I would just request you if you could share the presentation. So I just want to skip the introduction part and get on to the initiatives part. Would that be possible at your end?
It's possible, but I do not have it here. I cannot see it here. You have not uploaded.
Let me check again. Slides.
Maybe I would just make a suggestion.
Okay.
If someone else, for example, Karen or Lucia, start the presentation, and we have time for you to send it to me, and do you think it's okay?
Can you wait, Shreya?
Sure. We can always do that. I think that will save time, and I can always take it over.
Okay.
So should we move on with Lucia? Lucia, would that be great? We're doing it in time, so I want to make sure that you can all get back to bed.
Exactly. I think it's grounded.
I want to make sure that we're talking to the people that have the latest time so we can honor your sleep. I know it's so important. So Lucia De Luca is our global chair, Parity and Corporate Transformation. She's a former leader of Women's Movement, and I'm going to read a little bit about her. She's an equity champion and community builder, and the former managing director of Women Political Leaders from 2019 to 2021, the worldwide network of women in politicians. Lucy has more than 20 years of experience in international cooperation, strategic communications, and community creation. Welcome, Lucia.
Thank you very much, the fantastic moderators, Virginia and Michael. You make us, you make us feel the drum every time, so that's good. And to Violeta for bringing this motto, and Mar for the invitation, and colleagues, esteemed colleagues around. I'm trying. I mean, I know that I don't want to try not to talk too much, also because I'm looking at the time, and I was trying to link, maybe if I'm trying to link the objective of this encounter, which is that of education, with also what I do at G100, so dealing with pay parity, and with the biggest, and with the importance of networking mentioned by Honorable Violeta, but also by this wing. So I think that there is an element which we need to take into account, which is the aspect of transparency. So being transparent, and this is something which is very important when, for example, we talk about parity in pay. I mentioned before the importance to achieve pay parity, particularly for teachers who have this bigger responsibility. But transparency leads people not only to be knowledgeable about that differences, but also to be aware. And the awareness, as Violeta said, is very important. And I think that even more for teachers who are responsible for our education, I wouldn't be here talking to you if I hadn't had 30 or 40 years ago, some amazing teachers who were, teaching for small villages, who really taught me things which I still remember today. So I think that it is important. And their role is super important, and also super important to break the barriers and to bring a new sense for equality. And we always talk about parity and equality being a women's problem. We need, women needs to be empowered, women needs to be this, women needs to do less than this and more than that. But this is a shared responsibility, and I think that somebody said that you can only achieve progress, like Violeta, when talking about eco-civilization, can only achieve progress, and progress in the broader sense, if you unleash the full potential of the populations of the world, of the different countries of the world. And for this, women have a responsibility, have a role, but also men as well. And I will just to bring into the picture the role of man as co-author of this, new possibility, and also refer to some which I think is a bit like a change which happened in September. The Teach September at the UN. There is the biggest, the General Assembly. This year was the 77th General Assembly, and I heard a couple of people, in particular men and presidents of countries, talking about positive masculinity. And these, I was aware of the topic because we have a sister, Chantal Yalou-Melou, leading a wing at G100, who's really much engaged in positive masculinity. But I think that hearing, for example, the Bolivian president talking about this, or the Spanish president Pedro Sanchez talking about this, or the Congo president talking about this. By the way, our sister Chantal is advisor to the Congo president, so you see the need. So hearing more than three people, actually also Secretary Guterres was speaking about positive masculinity, brought me actually, let me think that actually that's where sometimes the changes start to happen, because there is a lot that women want, but still today, as Sister Deborah mentioned, the power is still in the hands of men. Unfortunately, most of them. It's not the case of you, Violeta, who had the power. It was a very powerful woman. So I think it's important that new concept, like, for example, that positive masculinity. So the new version of foreseeing a man in the society is brought forward by men, and which can really be our allies. So we really think that, and there again, teachers can really take those new words and put them into action. In particular, if educational programs stem down from the president of a country, like it happens in Congo, who's a very patriarchal society, or in Spain, or in Bolivia and other countries, then are distilled down into the education system, and this is really the way to impact on the lives of so many young people who will be the leaders of tomorrow. And this, for me, so that's why investing on education is super important, and it's super important to invest with the mentality of creating a new equality. And so I would just share these thoughts with you, because, as Violeta said, we could be staying here for hours, and maybe 12 hours talking would be amazing. But uh, that's actually the thoughts I would like to share with you all.
That was a great one. Really, really, really great one. And I like Lucia, but the term that you use, the positive masculinity, because like if you look at this forum now that we're speaking, that is he for she and she for he for she. Is that thing that we even at this level we're starting to embrace. And then yeah, and you spoke about in the higher level in terms of political leaders, in terms of what they're doing. And I think it needs to be everyone, being an ally, flagging that, flagging the flag, waving the flag, making sure that us as men acknowledge that there is gender parity there in terms of pay, making sure that we don't just keep our heads down and can like this business as usual, but we are more vocal about it. And really, really thank you for sharing that. Myself, with all the community that we do, we make sure that we have that collaboration, that men and women are trying to go for a common goal. And then even we're going to go back to Sharia, because yeah, it's just like in terms of like what she was trying to say is really, really impactful. And I think I was just going to because it's late there. But once you finish, I want to leave a last line that I think will make sense. Virginia, let's bring back.
Sure. Yes. I just want to say, Lucia, that I absolutely agree with bringing the men into the conversation. This will never improve if we don't bring the men into our conversation. So thank you so much. And not only conversation, and actually taking action. So thanks again for that. So I think that now, Shreya, are we ready? There we are. Is that it?
Nice. Perfect.
Beautiful. Okay.
Okay. So thank you once again.
Thank you,
And
Lucia.
yeah, thank you, Virginia. And once again, I'm back. Thanks for bearing with me patiently. So without further ado, on the introductory note that I left to come back and rejoin to share my insights on education standards and values for a new era. I would just like to quickly take through, this journey of empowerment, which I personally and professionally, I strongly believe and have practiced for close to 2 decades. And when we talk about when we see so many things and initiatives being taken at a global level, especially when we as G100 empowered leaders coming from different 100 sectors, whether it is eco-civilization, global networking, pay parity, and so many others. I think the key lies in the thread that binds us all together is the collaborative action and the best practices. So with that note, I would like to just throw upon a little human centric approach to what has been already shared, and some insights in terms of how building a skill and value based nation can definitely help in creating those progressive communities, which can definitely go a long way in building a sustainable future, whether when we are talking about SGD 2030. So I think we collectively all have that responsibility of putting in the best practices that we are taking back in our respective areas, and in fact, it's been an honor and privilege representing the National Council for Corporate Communication and Advocacy, along with G100 as a global networking India chair. I think I was fortunate enough to work with a lot of women, especially into the field of being into SDG educators, corporate trainers coming from human capital development background. We all have sort of, I think, put together a lot of initiatives, and that is where I have tried to put the presentation, which will just highlight few of the initiatives or the areas where we really need to look upon and have more such ideas and synergies. So I'll just take you through. So I'll skip the introduction part about the human capital development, because there's enough being said, and so I'll straight away come to how education as an empowerment tool, especially when we are talking about standardization or going beyond curriculums and going, especially the human centric approach. So going from scholastic education to talking about holistic education, especially dealing with young minds, when we are talking about evolved communities, evolved nations, I think holistic education is something which needs to be really looked upon strongly. And I'm glad that India as a nation has started really putting in efforts to make it a part of their curriculum, going beyond the academics and the scholastic education. Coming again, talking about skill empowerment, running these programs closely associated with a lot of CSRs, projects and initiatives, closely working with NGOs, universities back in India, coming from a corporate world. I think there has been beautiful, integration when it comes to skilling, upskilling, and reskilling initiatives. So I think while we are promoting and nurturing, coming again from the space of talent finding and nurturing, I had the enough exposure, and of course a lot of challenges when I began back 2 decades back. But I think the mentoring and the hand holding part, which comes through coaching and nurturing, so I think that is something which has to be made available, on the table, and the kind of exposure that is going to be available through these lifelong opportunities, that really needs to be implemented and integrated on a large scale. Having said that, enhancing the talking about skill development programs, it's not about just nurturing the employability skills or the life skills, adapting to the changing VUCA threats of the current time scenario, or maybe dealing with the pandemic, post pandemic challenges. I think it is all about inculcating those leadership values and those moral values which we really stand up and we are known for as a country, as a representing heritage and culture coming from diverse backgrounds. So when we talk about diversity and inclusivity, I think it's very important to empower today's youth through education, awareness, and consciousness. And that, of course, brings us to talk about empowerment, not just in terms of economical, but also in terms of emotional and mental empowerment, because that is where the resilience factor, I think, will play important. And when we talk about spreading awareness through education, whether we are conducting awareness workshops at the school secondary level, or we are doing it at the university level, or building upon these life skills at the professional corporate level. So I think that everybody is ultimately on the same mission, and that is where I think advancing on the path of spirituality also can be beautifully brought in, if we really have to go in the phase wise implementation for nations to thrive together. And on that note, I think I'll just make it a concluding slide to sum up my learnings from today's session, or probably that could be a starting point for new initiatives and collaborative approach for all G100 leaders to come together and put across. So I again strongly believe and have been trying to find out innovative ways of how life skills can be incorporated while focusing on more on the emotional intelligence aspect. And when I say emotional intelligence, of course, there has been enough done at the primary and scholastic level to inculcate a lot of academic changes in terms of new education policies. But yes, a lot more needs to be done, and that is where I think developing the cognitive learning abilities also has to be emphasized equally. and talking about skill development initiatives, whether it is upskilling, reskilling. There should be lifelong opportunities and exposure enough available. Needless to say, men, women, all the genders across, this should be easily made accessible with equitable education and better opportunities. Having said that, there has to be a strong collaboration between industry and academia. I think my 18 years of little journey that I have spent working in the corporates and then later half in working into skill development and talent nurturing, I have always seen that challenge that the industry has been evolving at a very rapid pace, and at the same time the academia is struggling. If I had to just quote it, coming from an engineering background, getting into HR, and then getting into being an SDG educator, getting into skill development and a lot of other things. I think it was challenge enough, but I think if you have really the willpower and the mindset, then I think there is no stopping, and that's where I think we all need to come together, whether it is industry, academia, or the central and state government fundings for these kind of initiatives to be started large scale, especially in terms of talking about India, which has just taken up a lot of initiatives under the leadership of our able Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, who strongly believes in one nation, one skill. And that is where a lot of skill development initiatives have been taken through a lot of corporates under their CSR programs. And I'm glad that I've been able to serve the larger part of the community and the young minds, trying to shape up their careers, not in terms of just the employability skills, but also building up on the entrepreneurship and the leadership skills as well. So empowerment campaigns by NGOs, corporates can, I think, make a huge deal of difference when it comes to skill development initiatives. And that is where we strongly believe that the G20, summit presidency and the G100 recommendations, we as leaders are trying to put together through such empowering conversations. We are all heading towards one mission, one nation, and one planet, and one religion, that is humanity. And I think it is all about creating that impact, transforming lives. And I can see Michael's beautiful backdrop, which talks about innovation. So yes, of course, that's an integral part, and all this based on moral values. I think that's very essence of laying a strong foundation where education can really do wonders, whether it is for the youth, men, women, and for all the nations to thrive together. And I'm glad to be, being part of such empowering forum like global networking, which has been ably led by so many beautiful souls and leaders who always keep sharing and engaging with these conversations, triggering a lot of thoughts for ourselves, for self retrospection, where we can actually make a lot of difference. So on that note, I strongly urge and appeal that in the coming times we should have more such collaborative action, going beyond discussions, to come together and take these initiatives at a different level to transform lives and impact in a much better way. So on that note, thank you so much to everyone for the patient hearing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ria.
Thank you so much. You know what you left us with? We need to start creating real projects. I think that the next step, is really for us to start getting united and also creating real projects. So thank you so much for leading me with that. I totally agree. I think that everything we've heard throughout our 2 hours today is about really harnessing what makes us human, right? In this educational journey. So thank you so much for that.
That's really great. And as you're saying, Shireen, we have the background there saying innovation, but it's more, as you were saying, representation. And so that representation is really key. And as you, as a human capital investor, I think you're in a great position in terms of creating those mechanisms for those women, those men, those minority to come and create something new. Not trying to adapt to change what is already there, or like for corporate already have the standard way to work. And if you try to change what's already there, I think it's a bigger push than creating an ecosystem or something that can create something new. And I think you're really well positioned for that. Thank you very much for your talk.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So last but not least, today we have Karen Days.
Dash. Yes.
Dash. Okay, and she's our G100 Global Chair of Scholarships and Internships. She is a highly experienced senior advisor to governments and social organizations who has worked for governments at local, regional, and international levels for over 30 years. Welcome, Karen.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me, Mar and her team. Great initiative you took. Ladies, you're still awake latest night, different parts of the world. And thank you, Michael and Virginia, by guiding us through this evening with your great discussions and questions you address. So I'm Karen, and I have the privilege to start the new Global Wing Scholarship and Internship. And the past years, I leaded the G100 Wing Education Employability. And today, I like to address two challenges in the educational field. That is preparing students on the 21st century skills, and the second is providing meaningful internships. Youth unemployment is threatening the future of humanity. It's a global problem that requires global cooperation. The youth make up almost a fifth of the world's population, and the youth population is surging. Close to 85% of the 1.2 billion young men and women between the ages of 18 and 24 live in developing countries across Asia, 60%, Africa, 15%, Latin America and the Caribbean, 10%, and other parts of the developing world, 15%. Over the next decade, 1 billion young people will enter the global workforce, the largest cohort ever to reach employment age. The World Bank estimates that simply to keep pace with this growth, 40 million new jobs must be created each year to accommodate few new market entrants, in addition to absorbing the 200 million who are currently unemployed. So, with these figures, it's clear that we need to take action. It's important to prepare our youth globally on the modern society by educating the 21st century skills, is my opinion. Our society is changing rapidly. Children, young people, and adults need new skills to survive in this society for now and in the future. The challenge of education is to prepare students for a world of jobs, with jobs, opportunities, and challenges that do not yet exist. We can't even imagine what developments and trends will drive and change the economies like the smartphone has done the last years, which leads educators to the question of what should students learn in the school. Educators should empathize skills and attitudes over curriculum and rote memorization. I think the curriculum should aid in fostering skills like digital literacy, problem solving, reasoning, collaboration, creativity, interpretation, and analysis to help the students in all these situations he or she encounters. Because technically, advances like the internet have rendered skills like rote memorization unimportant. Students should learn how to retrieve, synthesize, evaluate, and think critically about the extensive library of information found online. The 21st century skills are becoming more and more important because jobs require high level of these skills. The overarching goal of vocational and higher education is to prepare students to achieve success in their future careers. More and more importance is being placed on the value of experiential learning. This is where internships play an important role. The National Association of Colleges and Employers, the NACE, also reports that students who graduate with internship experience are generally more likely than students without those experiences to find employment after graduation. But they also report higher levels of satisfaction with their overall career outcomes. So we have to stimulate students and youngsters to go on internship. They will benefit because students can apply their classroom learning in professional environments. They can gain exposure to their chosen field, and they can establish critical network connections. Because for many students, the internship is a stepping stone to additional opportunities within the same organization, including full-time employment. And students can gain coveted work experience. One of the greatest frustrations college graduates who struggle to find employment report is the problems that arise when they only open positions require working experience they just don't have yet. Fresh out of college, they rarely have anything significant to say in a job interview. The best real work experience they can have is during their internships. But students experience certain obstacles to get an internship because they need to work paid jobs. Most commonly obstacle that prevented students from taking an internship was the simple fact that they had to continue to work their full-time or part-time job, which they combine with their study. Or another obstacle is that the work at the college or a university demands so much from them that it's difficult to combine with an internship. And students who could not take internship cited the lack of pace as the reason why. But very important, which is also experiencing in my country, the Netherlands, is that for some students, it's very difficult to find an internship because their background is the reason. So even discrimination is a reason why a part of the students have difficulties or cannot find an internship. When thinking about these obstacles, it's important to keep in mind that some students face 2 or more of these intersecting obstacles at once. This, in turn, leaves students from wealthy, well-connected and privileged families in a better position when it comes to securing an internship that could be a critical link to their first job. The inability to take internship is a problem because interns serve as an important signal that students are ready to enter the workforce. Students who listed an internship on their resume receive like 20% more offer for an interview than those who did not. And evidence is growing that internship also lead to lower rates of unemployment after graduation, higher wages, and even better grades than students who don't have an internship. More specifically, students who had an internship have 20% lower unemployment, 10% higher wages 5 years after graduation, and final year grades that are 5% higher than those who did not have an internship. So these figures we have to think about because the impact is huge if students don't have the chance to have a good internship. The majority of business leaders believe that there is a significant gap between the skills and competence students are equipped and the ones they would need in their first job. Internships are a great way to bridge that gap, but a lot of business leaders battle with the thought if it is truly beneficial or cost efficient to have interns. Trainings and developing an intern takes a lot of time, and by the time they are actually starting to bring results, it might already be the end of their internship. So they might not provide immediate return on the investment. However, employers can benefit a lot by a place to interns, because having an intern in your company will give you new innovative ideas. Because if interns feel like their opinion are valued, they can bring a wide range of new ideas to your business. The interns have the ability to look at what's being done from an outer side perspective, as well as bring their fresh ideas. This can be game changers in the long term. Not all employers realize this. And of course, interns are a talent pipeline. Interns are a great channel for recruitment. And by having interns in your company, you get special skills, because many times an intern comes from a totally different generation with a totally different set of skills than the majority of the company employees. So to conclude, we need to support our youth to be successful in life by educating 21st century skills globally and offering meaningful internship for students no matter their socio-economic background. Teachers and future employees have to take action hand in hand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Karen, on that. I think you've touched a lot of nice facts, and thank you for sharing all those stats. They really it paints a picture, you know. And I think what we need to, and what you said as well, is in terms of like once those students come out from, let's say, from the internships, giving them the opportunity to actually apply those skills, you know, and not just internship for the sake of internship, meaningful internship where they can actually make an impact. So I think that's really resonated very well. Say again, sorry.
And no matter their background, because that's
exactly.
Really
Exactly. I don't want to touch that point because it's very sensitive, even for me as a black man. I don't acknowledge it that much, but there is some barriers that you just get just for showing your picture, just for even your name. So those ones that needs to get you know, penciled out, you know. But yes, thank you very much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Okay, Amar, I don't know if you want to take an opportunity just to talk about Antonio, or will I just present?
Very briefly, Antonio Sarabia, as many know, is the Global Chair Dating Partner. He's in Portugal. He is president of the Portuguese Confederation of Business and vice president of Business Europe, and we are very, very proud and very honored to have him as dating partner. He's supposed to be here today. There was an emergency of the last minute. Just to say thanks to Antonio to join me, to be with me in all this journey, and to be with all of us, this kind of men like you, Michael, that are sharing our path together. I really would love to highlight it, because women empowerment for G100 is that he for she for he, and that's why we are doing it. If you agree, we go with Coco Wong. If you would like to present it.
Sure. I think I would like to give an opportunity for our next speaker. She's Coco Wong. She's Global Chair of Leadership for Entrepreneurial Education, and she's also CEO of Kids International. So it's going to be a really nice one to hear about, you know. So thank you, Coco Wong. We're going to have a nice...
Hello, everyone. I'm Coco Wong, and I am currently in Malaysia. And I'm the Global Chair of the G100 Leadership and Entrepreneurial Education. So I want to talk to you about education today. So when we think about education, most people think about the schools, right? From kindergarten, primary, secondary, up to college, or even further studies. But education is so much more. It's actually around the family, around the environment, and everything could be part of our education. So whenever I'm teaching my students who are from 7 to 17, so I specialize in youth, and that is also what my wing does. I always say to them, there's a lesson in everything we see. So I want their education to extend outside of the classroom, to look around them, to find lessons to learn from everything we do and everywhere we go. So it's actually very important that we start giving this type of mindset to children, because as they go around in the world, they're going to be exposed to different things and different environment, different people, and it's really important that they start to see from other people's point of view and actually learn from them, because we are all global citizens nowadays, right? And we are all connected through the internet. So it's actually very important to do that. And one thing that our wing likes to do is we want to empower and encourage children, especially the girls, to have this entrepreneurial mindset and take action. And so I often get asked, why entrepreneurship for children? Because it seems like we are teaching them to do business at a very young age. Yes and no. We actually are not teaching them to do a business. We expect them just to learn from the skills and not necessarily have a startup or a business from a young age. But through entrepreneurship, actually they're building a lot of the soft skills that is often missing in schools. For example, communication skills. Many schools nowadays is still like one-way street. The teacher is talking at the children or to the children, and often teachers do not encourage the other way around. Mostly because of timing, right? A lot of the teachers have a curriculum to teach and they need to just get through it, and so they don't encourage the children to ask too much. I know there are some international schools that are getting the students to be more interactive, but most of the time it's still very, very one way. However, communication is actually the other way. So when we are talking about education, there's the input and the output, right? So whenever we're talking to them or teaching them concepts, it's the input. But we need to get them to process and then have the output. And that's where they come out with their communication, their expression, their way of telling us what they think about that topic or their views, right? So we often think that, okay, they need to write it out. But what if they don't like writing? There are so many different ways to express our opinions. So it could be writing, it could be doing a video, it could be singing it could be dancing, it could be drawing. There are infinite ways for our children to express themselves. So we shouldn't be limiting them to just one thing. So entrepreneurship skills actually encourages them to think about word problems, to come up with solutions, and then to pitch it or to communicate with the others what they're thinking about. Another one that I'm really big on is the creativity, because we are talking about AI around the world, and AI is becoming more and more sophisticated. And there are many industries that are currently being replaced by AI. But I always feel that creativity is the one thing at the moment that AI is having a tough time to replace human beings. Although it is getting there, I don't think it can ever replace us. So it's actually very important to train our children to be creative. And how do we do that? By letting them explore and fail and make mistakes and create a mess in our house. And everything that we keep saying don't do is actually stopping their creativity. So I encourage everyone out there to think about these two things. How can we give more opportunities for children to communicate and to speak to have a voice, to speak up and share with us their views? And we as adults should not be blocking them. And secondly, how can we do things to create more creativity opportunities so that they become exposed to different ways of coming up with solutions? So these are the two things that I really want to share: creativity and communication. So hopefully I'll be meeting some of you soon, and I hope this short sharing is useful to everyone. Thank you.
That was a brilliant one from Coco Wong, all about in terms of like how we're going to, it's beautiful. How you expose your kids and even young adults to experiences. If when you expose them to experiences, that's how they learn. And then as well, making sure that that environment of absorbing things and being creative, and which is what sets us apart from, even from business wise, even as human beings. Creativity is what makes us who we are, and it paints our colors. So I think that's really a strong one. And I would take I don't know if you want to add something there. Anyone of you, Karen, Mar, Lucia, yeah.
I think we are very short of time. If you don't mind, ladies, we are going now with Brigitte
Okay.
Tan. She's our global networking from our representative for US, and she's an author of the book Seeking Peace. She is founder of Childhood Cancer Foundation, and she's a coach and grief specialist, and she will deliver her message. Let's go for it.
Straight.
Thank you, Mar. It's an honor and a delight to be with you all today. Thank you for including me in these discussions on education, standards and values for the new era. For me, the education in the new era need to educate our new generation, to educate people on the importance of the power of our heart. And yes, that's the importance of our physical heart, but also the importance of our emotional heart. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is we know that there is an increasing number of mental health conditions in the world, including the younger generations. And a lot of time that's a good number of that is because we feel, and that's our heart, feel unheard, H-E-A-R-D, feel unheard. But in addition to that, Dr. Joe Dispenza actually sums it very well, that when you can heal your heart, or you can empower your heart, when you can heal your heart, you can heal your mind. And when you can heal your mind, you can heal your body as well as your result. And where we're talking about healing, if we're talking about empowering, that works in the same way. When we empower our heart, when we're able to know more about our heart, understand the power of our heart, which I'm going to show my screen really quick here to illustrate. So this is an illustration adapted from the HeartMath Institute. Many times we are aware about the power of our mind, and through my educations all the way to postdoctorate degree here in the US and seemingly in many other countries as well, there are a lot of emphasis on the importance of our mind and our logic and understanding the book, and seems to be very sparse on the importance about paying attention and knowing the power of our heart. While these studies by HeartMath Institute as well as other institutions shows that in addition to our mind sending signals to our body, which is a concept that many of us familiar, our mind sends signals down to our body, say to your hand, and therefore you are able to move your hand. In addition to that, every moment, our heart actually also sends signals to our brain, to our mind, as well as throughout our body. Now, the study also shows in here that the signal from the heart is up to and typically 60 times stronger and faster than the signal that comes from our brain or our mind. What does that mean? That means your heart, if your heart has something going on with it, whether perhaps it is a trauma from the past that's still being held deep in the heart, or perhaps currently your heart is scared, you feel scared, then your mind might know one thing, but the heart will block it. Many of us has this experience of we know we're supposed to do things. We know it's good for us to do or something like that. But then we just cannot make ourselves do it. Or we delay and we delay. Why is that? A lot of times because something going on in our heart that we might or might not be aware about. And so that is one thing that's important, which is which our heart is, when we are talking about educations and educating people in general and the younger generations, the importance of being aware of this is, of course, to educate people such that not only they are able to understand and be aware of what's in their mind, but also in their heart. And when, as a populations, we are able to do that, then people will be able to really know how to listen to their heart and know what's right, instead of just listening up here that is so many times influenced by the pressure from everything's going on, all the chatters out there and so forth. And so that's one thing. And when we're able to empower our heart, we empower our mind, and we're able to synchronize that. And then naturally, we will be able to create a better result for ourselves. And in a trickle effect, we will be able to create a better result for the populations, for our community, and for our humanity. And so that is something that we want to be aware about. This study also on the site shows that not only our heart moves faster than our brain, anything that is going on in our heart is also measurable. All these measurements are done by machines using EKG as well as multiple other instruments. But this one shows that whatever going on in our heart, it's actually measurable by EKG 3 feet outside our body. In addition to that, studies also show that whatever going on in our hearts, so let's say we feel angry, or we feel doubtful inside, or we feel resentment or fear inside, it actually, on the instruments, it shows that it's affected, that it affects someone else's across the room. And this is shown on people as well as on dogs. So it's quite an objective study, which means that it even shares an additional importance on us to be able to know what is it going on with our heart, and to help people to be aware on what's going on in their heart. If we are talking about relationships, about humanity in general, about creating peace, well, if we are inside of us doubtful, if we are scared, we don't even really need to say anything really to anybody else's out there, because people can feel it, whether they are aware of it or not. And so to me, that shares the importance on us to be able to be more aware on what's really going on in our heart. When we are aware of what's going on in our heart, then we will be able to be creating a different result. While a lot of times in my 25 years of helping people with grief, and over 25,000 people, many times we see, and you might have heard this as well, where people say, yeah, it makes sense up here, but deep in our heart, deep in the heart, we still don't feel quite right. That logically it makes sense, we can talk about it, we understand, but something still hold us back. And if we equip ourselves with the tools and the skills such that we're able to listen to our heart and synchronize our heart with our mind, then it will be a lot easier for us to create the result that we would want for each and every one individually, for all the people who we serve, and result for our humanity in general. So my call is to educate the importance of the heart, as well as provide the tools and the skills to listen to our heart just as much as we listen to our mind and to all the knowledge and the informations out there. Thank you again for the opportunity to share with you today.
Thank you. That was really, really great. That was really great. And now we're getting very, very close to the end. So we want to just take the opportunity to thank all the speakers. First of all, our guest of honor, Rosalia Arteaga, as well as our special guest as well, Violeta Borg, and then and not, of course, to making it possible, Mar and Antonio. Thank you very much for that. And without our speakers, we cannot. This event will not be possible. And I extend my gratitude and thank you very much for sharing all your knowledge. I don't know. I want to take some time just to go through what was shared in the chat. Everyone was like talking about really enjoying the connectivity, the experience that we had here in terms of connecting with each other, and we also there were also thoughts about the part in terms of engagement, in terms of this being a form of engagement as well. Here, there's a very nice one that I wanted to touch as well in terms of Violeta was saying that in the EU, 90% of investments in startups are done in the companies that they are owned by man, and though over 35% of 35% proposals are delivered by women. So you could see that those statistics, men invest in a lot, but you've seen that number of women creating companies and startups on the rise as well. So we touched a lot on that, and so this is the 2 or 3 things that I wanted to highlight in terms of a chat. The chat was really, really booming, and I think we have another forum in terms of sharing what was shared in the chat. But I don't want to give a couple of minutes for Mar just to conclude and close this event. I think it was really, 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 again, a very, very successful one, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Michael. Karen, please, your last remarks.
It was an incredible event with great speeches, learning, empowering each other. Yeah, it was amazing. Thank you so much, Mar. Thank you.
Thank you for being part of it, for accepting the invitation and being a key point of our agenda. And our
last
agenda,
one standing.
yeah. Our agenda was standards and values, were emotions, but also expertise. It was knowledge and solidarity, goodwill and action. And it's very difficult to find all that in one. And we did it. We achieved the goal, and we are so happy for that. We are so glad. So thank you so much for being here.